I make mistakes every single day. So it's not that I'm making the right decisions. I'm just learning constantly from what I'm doing, that there's a better way, there's another way, there's a different way.
Told her to level me up, yeah. It's time to level up. Now level up.
Yo, what's up, ladies and G's? Much love to those returning, and shout out for those tuning in for the first time. I'm your host, DeAndre Evans, and look, I have a very special guest today. He is the CEO of Sovereign Brands, a family-owned international wine and spirits company based in New York. I mean, his portfolio is very broad as he sells over 100 different items and products in various countries globally. I mean, you probably had his drinks at a party, you probably had it sipping at a conference, or like me, you might be, sipping on it at home. He's also responsible for creating Ace of Spades, Champagne, and Douce, which is a lovely cognac. And his latest, actually, Luc Belaire, which I'm sipping on right now, is one of the fastest growing French sparkling wines in the world. And he has so many products and cognacs and wines that I know a lot of you will love. So I'm super excited to bring him on. He also created Bumbu, which is a craft rum from Barbados, and McQueen, which is a small batch of gin from Brazil. And on top of that, yes, there's more. He also got Villon, which is revolutionizing the cognac category. He's been featured in Forbes, Crane, Chicago, so many publications, been shouted out by Goldman Sachs as well. I have none other than my guy, Brett Berish. How are you?
DeAndre, I gotta have you be my MC, like lead me into the audience. So I feel I'm jazzed right now. I feel
Let's
great. Thank you for that introduction.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Oh, the best for the best, right?
Cheers, my friend. Let's start off right. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so with that being said, Brett, usually what I like to do to open up my podcast, since it's Wednesday, we like to do a little flashback just to give the audience a little bit more about you. So if you don't mind, I'll open up the floor and just tell us more about you. You know, young Brett coming up, how'd you become this big icon in the cognac and wine industry?
Well, there's so much story to it. I didn't start the business till in my 30s. So it wasn't something I jumped into that I had the idea. And I wish I would have been 19, 20 years old when I started, but I didn't. I lacked the confidence. I lacked a lot of things that I needed. And I love the space. I love today. I'll take it today. I love the space. I love creating new brands. I want to create brands that are iconic. I want to create brands that are going to live for the next 100 years. And most importantly, I want to be, if I'm going to enter a category and I want to I can only launch a brand if I know what it tastes like is better than the competition. That's the end all, because you can create a great product, but if they don't like the way it tastes, or it doesn't fit, or the song isn't right, they're never going to come back again. You got to make sure it works the first time. So it's a space I love, and it's a space I love talking about.
Awesome. Awesome. I love to hear that. And I would love to dive in a little bit deeper, because I know you say you started this journey at 30. And so as a young kid, like, how was that, transition for you growing up? Was your mother and father in business? Did you just stumble upon this industry, or?
So no, I'm the example of, you see what your parents do and you want to emulate them. So my dad was in the liquor business at one company for 45 years. He spent his entire career there. And what's weird about that is, as much as I love the industry, because that's all he talked about, when he came home from dinner, came from business trips, his gifts to us were alcohol products, little memorabilia, keychains, beer mats, anything. But he didn't want any of my brothers and I to be in this business, because like any parent, you want your kids to do something easier. He thought of this as a difficult task. And I was this kid that I had a billion ideas. DeAndre, I had so many ideas of things I wanted to do in and outside the space. But my biggest problem was, and I see a lot of people like this, is you don't pick one. So you're always afraid, if I choose this one, what happens to the other ones? Will I have any more ideas? Where do I go from here? And I've had a couple moments in my life that mattered most. And this is one of them, where I just finally said, screw it. I got to do this. I got to stop asking people what they think. And I shouldn't care. And I picked this space. I've always loved this space. And I launched the company almost 22 years ago.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing, man. Congratulations on that. And just to hear the fact that your mother and father were very supportive, given the fact that they were already in the industry, you kind of just took forth and took action and said, you know what? I'm gonna take the role here. I'm gonna take over.
I don't know if my dad was that supportive. My mom was. My
Okay.
mom is. If you ask me the question, who do you look up to? Who's your inspiration? It's her over any business person because she's fearless. She's tenacious. She never gives up. And that's what you got to have. You got to have that mentality that I can do anything and I can make it happen. Because that's half the battle. That's half the battle is having confidence. The part I like to tell that is important to me for anybody who's trying to start a business, get in business, you look at someone like me, and I've had huge successful brands. You mentioned a bunch. Belaire is enormous today. It's in 80 countries. Bumbu is probably the #1 premium rum in the world. Past brands, Ace and Douce. But Jesus, it was not easy. And my first 6-7 years was horrifying. Everything from I like to tell the story. I had my bank account swept by the IRS because I stopped paying taxes because it allowed me to put more money back in the business. I stopped paying my mortgage and I got foreclosed on because I put that money back in the business.
Wow.
But the first 6-7 years was not only it was just a wild time, but it's where I learned everything. So one of the things I just believe in wholeheartedly is making mistakes is key. But the key is realize you make them and pivot quickly. I didn't do that early on, but I learned how to do that as I kept going. So nothing's easy. This wasn't easy, but it's working now. How's that?
Right. Absolutely. It's definitely working and it's looking good. It's looking good. It's tasting good. Come on, you do something right, right?
I hope so. It's the brand. It's the
Right,
brand.
right. I love it. I love it. So let's backtrack a little bit because you just mentioned something very important. I think a lot of people may have skipped it or didn't catch it. Like you've been doing this for a while, and you said during about 6-7 years, it was kind of a challenge, right, to go through the process. So let's go back to the first brand, if it is the first brand, Ace of Spades, right? Is that the first brand you created?
It was
Or
not.
was
It was
okay.
not. It's a brand that doesn't exist today. But I'm not being cute when I say this. To me, it's my most successful brand because everything I learned from that experience is what I've been implementing for the past 14 years, 13, 14 years. It's everything from, it could be anything. It's realizing I can't compete with Bacardi and Captain Morgan, Bacardi and Diageo and all the big players. I can't be like them. I got to choose my own lane and realize that's the audience I have. I have to, I gotta have patience. Patience is the hardest part when you're young, or I shouldn't say young. You want it all fast. You want it now. You want it to happen.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way. I got to just have patience. I'll get there. It's going to take time, but eventually I'll get there. So it's little, I got to make money. If I make money today, I can survive tomorrow. I can keep building, and little things like that is all the things that first brand taught me.
Nice. Nice. I love to hear that, man. And to touch up on that a little further, because like personally, I'm curious, being in this industry, I love a nice cognac and wine, but you said you went through some challenges and trials and tribulations. Like, what was that mindset like to be like, okay, I'm not necessarily going to pay the tax here. I'm just going to put it back into the business. And how did you like constantly deal with that? Because I know some people are afraid, the IRS coming to get my money.
Yeah, I think that's where, well, I think that's where being naive, being all in, being naive, being, I believe in this. I remember, I interviewed, if you know the artist Rhapsody, who I love, and Rhapsody was telling me a story. And I would tell this story, she'd say, Brett, as long as I had this realization that as long as I had enough money to get to the studio, I'm happy. And I had that same moment where I had investors, they wanted to wind up the company. I remember calling my mother and being like, it's just horrifying. This sucks. They want to stop it. I want to keep going. And she's like, Brad, I'll give you, I'll sell all my rings for you. I'm like, no. But I remember telling her in that moment, you know what? I don't need money. I love what I'm doing. And as long as I can survive, I feel good. And it's that type of realization that helped me, where it's not about, I want to be number one, I want to be all these things, I want to have this. It wasn't about that. It was just, let me just survive and I'll get there. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow. Wow. And I hope everyone that's listening right now is paying attention, because he said something major. He did it because he loved it. He was passionate about it. He didn't do it for the dollar amount. He did it because he loved it. And I think a lot of people miss that part of the process and the formula when it comes to trying to figure out what to do and how to go after their dreams. You got to be passionate about what you do. So I appreciate you for sharing that. Definitely.
I also think, DeAndre, I think patience. I think, forget, my brands, if I use Belaire as the example, I think this is not year 9 or 10. So, it's still, some people would say it's a long time. I think it's a short time, but boy, it's been it's been doing great for years, but maybe you're just learning about it, or maybe you're just realizing it. But year 1 and year 2 were good too. So you can have patience to get there, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I actually live by 3 P's, and I call it passion, patience, and persistence. And I feel like you embody those 3 too when it comes to your brand and what you've been doing.
The other thing I would say, which is a good example, is you mentioned to me before the podcast, you drink Belaire Rosé, the black bottle. Yeah. And to give you a perfect example, that bottle right there, when I was told, the one thing all my brands have in common is my industry told me, don't do it. It's not going to work. 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 When I presented that black bottle to my distributors, they said, you're nuts. You're launching rosé. You shouldn't do that. You got to do a brut first, because that's where you start. You put rosé in a black bottle, you can't see the liquid. It's not going to work. Who you're competing against, you can't win against them. And the younger version of me in that 6-7 year period would have changed everything, because I just assumed that everybody is smarter than me, that they're in the business longer than me. They know better. And I would have changed everything back in the day. And now, no, I got to trust my instincts. I got to trust the lane I'm in. Yeah. If anybody's going to screw it up, I want it to be me. I want that responsibility. Right. And you can listen, and maybe you take bits and pieces, but you got to hold to your instincts in your gut, because this is why I'm in this.
And what I find very interesting, especially someone like yourself, is that you got to continue to know how to balance that, right? Like, you started with Ace of Spades and Doucet, and then you went to Luc Belaire. So how was that transition for you? Was it easy as far as like learning how to do this type of thing? Was it challenging going from, this big brand of Ace of Spades and then having to start over and do another brand, another company?
Well, every brand is clearly, to me, it's like, I call them children. You got to micromanage them when they're young, and you got to be in tune to them. And what are they good at? What are they not good at? My son, in real life, my son is amazing at math and reading. He can't write or draw worth crap. My daughter is an amazing artist, but she can't read or write worth crap. And what you do in that situation is you lean in on what they're good at. You want them to excel what they're good at, and then you backfill. And I treat business the same way. Every brand is different. You got to learn. It's a silly thing to say, but I believe in this. When I launch a new brand, I don't have a plan. I have a plan for what the brand is, like its identity and its unique selling points and all that. But I don't know yet what I have until I put it out there. So they're all different. So I'll learn as I go, and that's how it works for me. And then I'll start putting a plan together. But they're all different, and they're all, I'm digressing, but if I use Ace as an example, with Ace, we built that brand with traditional PR. And the traditional PR back then is magazines, newspapers, a little bit of blogs. We didn't have social media. Yeah. We had everybody in the world write about us. And then we started seeing social media, and now we're pivoting. Whoa, social media is interesting. How do I leverage this? How do I take advantage of this? How do I use this medium? So Belaire has been built in a different way. It's the same ideas, but you got to pivot constantly based on what the market's giving you. So that's what I think we're good at. And I think anybody can learn is, it's like a musician. Be close to your fans, learn from your fans, because that's how you're going to figure out where to go.
I like that. I like that a lot. I feel like a lot of the times when people do start brands, really, like a lot of people don't really understand branding. And at least from my perspective, I feel like it's the promise that you make to your customer. Like it's the value that you bring forth, right? How can you solve their problems and how can you be of value to them? And I feel like a lot of people miss that because they want to just make some money or, let me just put my product up and wave it around and get somebody to rep it. But I feel like if you're really trying to build something as far as like longevity wise, I feel like you really embody, that process on how to do that.
It's being in tune. You got to be in tune and close to the audience. So I don't know if you know the singer Russ.
Yes.
And I interviewed Russ, and Russ was telling me day one when he'd put his music out on SoundCloud, and he'd see, Jesus, I have fans in the state of Washington. Don't know why, but I have fans there. And what did he do? He went to Washington and he started performing in basements and little concerts and started building his fan base there. And he saw that he had fans in the Middle East. They thought he's Middle Eastern. And then he went there and built his fan base and built a following. And to me, that's genius. It's learning, it's realizing what your brand is good at and leveraging that. And then you build around it. And that's what that's what we're doing is we're aware of we're aware of what's working and let's go at it. And we'll backfill as we go.
Got you. So tell me, how did you really go about pushing the brand out there and getting it to the hands of like, Rick Ross and so many other celebrities and influencers? How did you go about that?
I have my own philosophy. I look at it like dating. My wife is the example. The more I liked her, the less she liked me. If I'm chasing people, it's not going to work. If it's a transaction, it's not going to work. Everything I'm doing, I want it to be an organic relationship. Ross heard about our brand from DJ Clue when he was, and Ross tells this story all the time. He was in New York at a club, Clue ordered bottles. He saw these black bottles coming out. He's like, what the hell is that? And he was supporting the brand a year before we met. And then we started talking and we started working together. And I consider him one of my closest friends now. Wayne, same thing with our rum. Like he loved it. He embraced it. And Wayne doesn't embrace anything. Like I can't force that stuff to happen. So everything to me is an organic relationship where I want a real relationship. I want to know that we're going to do something today, tomorrow, or the next 10 years from now. And I want to help you. And if you can help me, great. But it's not based on, geez, look at this guy's stats and he's great. And look how many followers he has, because everyone's famous today.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely got to make those genuine connections nowadays. You're absolutely right. And then you got to be careful who you choose to, collaborate with, because everyone has their own agenda and you want to make sure that everything is in alignment with what you have. And
I want people who don't mail it in. I want people who are, bad shit happens, they're going to be there for you.
Right.
They're going to be supporting you. They're going to be, they're excited. They live and breathe the space. They live and breathe the industry. They get the lifestyle. They get the cultural aspect. I see this as, there's a comedian, influencer, actress. She does everything. Her name is Pretty V. Yeah. I met her. We just clicked. I love her. I love her to death. We've been working together for a few years now. I support everything she does. Is that my audience? It doesn't matter. She is my audience because she loves what we're doing and I want to support her. So that's a real connection. That's what we try to do.
Well, look, I'm interested. I drink this all the time.
That's what it is. That's how we find people. I was interviewed by DJ Nina, who's on-air DJ in Vegas. She loves our brands. She interviewed me. We get along. She just went to our Atlanta studio. She's shooting content with us. We're setting bottles on behalf. Like we built a relationship now. Let's go. Let's go have some fun with this.
Absolutely. Let's turn up. Let's get it. Let's make it happen.
That's right.
Definitely. So I do want to shift gears really quick because I am interested in knowing more about, the process of everything. So you as a person, like I can tell this right off the back, like I'm very intuitive. So I can tell when someone is genuine and passionate about things. And I would love to know your aspect and viewpoint on this. Like, how did you go about training yourself to have the skills that you have when it comes to branding?
Well, I think of myself as I'm the consumer. If I'm in a category, I'm drinking the category. I'm drinking. We don't have agencies working with us. Again, we're not picking lanes based on what's hot today. If anything, I'm fearful of entering categories that are hot. I don't want to do that. And it starts with drinking. I'm drinking, I'm learning about the category. I'm figuring out, the taste profile I like, because I'm assuming if I like it, I'm the typical consumer. I'm the guy you want. And then we build around that. Can we make the product that we're looking for better? Can we find the right producers for us? And then when it comes to packaging and design, it's, to me, and I've talked to enough musicians where it's somewhat similar. You have a hook you like, you hold on to it. You got a beat you like, you hold on to it. You've got a story you want to tell, you hold on to it. And then you're putting it together. It all kind of comes together, and it's the same thing. So there's elements that I just appreciate, or I like, or we see that we want to hold on to, and we'll mesh them together and it becomes the brand. Our gin, McQueen and the Violet Fog, I always imagined this old school rock and roll band, Florence and the Machine. I imagined, Steve McQueen. That's who I grew up loving. He's cool. He's badass. Alexander McQueen, fashion. We ended up with McQueen and the Violet Fog. It's got an eye and a crown on it, which is this dope, almost Illuminati logo. There's a story of a rock band on the back of the bottle called McQueen and the Violet Fog. I think we're the only brand in the whole world with a poem on the back of the bottle. So, the top is weighted, it's heavy, everything is unique. And that's a story coming together that needs to be told. And that's the same thing with all my brands. I need to tell that story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's hop into these brands, because I know many people can't see them if you're listening to the audio, but I'll definitely say go to YouTube. But he has so many different options here, and I would love to dive into it a little bit more. First I got to ask, wait, which one is your favorite one?
If you ask me which is my favorite of my 6 kids, it depends on the day, right? I'll be honest as far as that. I love them all, but I call myself a mood drinker. It's what I'm in the mood for. Today it's nice out. I'm drinking my champagne. I'm drinking Belaire. I'm a mood drinker. It's what am I feeling at that moment? I don't drink based on food pairing. I never have. I never will. I drink based on what do I feel like drinking.
Gotcha. Because I was actually going to ask that, what do you recommend as far as pairings with so many options, from your Belaire Rosé, your McQueen to your Bumbu, and we got the top notch here. It's from the Lux all the way down.
My goal, DeAndre, with all my brands is I want to win on taste. And the goal of all the brands is if you can drink mine straight, even no ice, that's a great brand. Because once you start mixing them, it's even better. Meaning, so if you take my rum, and if you like rum and Coke, if you like a pina colada, if you like a Mai Tai, if you like a dark and stormy, it's Bumbu. If you like gin and tonics, if you like a martini, a gin martini, if you do it the way Wiz does it and just take shots, that's your brand. So, but at the end of the day, I tell everybody, just try it straight. And hopefully you don't like that category, because that's even better. Because I want the people who are like, I don't like gin. I'm not a huge gin fan. I want you to try it because I think I can turn you.
Wow. Yeah, I might have to check it out. I haven't tried the McQueen yet, but I definitely will, since I got it. But I love them all, man. I appreciate it. But I did want to ask you, though, because given this time, right, we're kind of still in this pandemic, right? It's still a little unusual. People kind of go out, kind of not. We got masks, no masks. So I would love to know, what have you learned about yourself during this pandemic? Whether you've been in isolation, building your brand, and what are you looking to master?
I think I'm so proud of the way when I say we as the company has thought about what we need to be doing. So first and foremost, as I said, I keep using this word pivot. When stuff comes at you, you got to pivot. When COVID hit, we pivoted, and it was the first thing I did was I changed my name. If I email you, it would have said on my signature, Brett Berish, because I wanted everybody to know, from the trade, the distributors, the retailers, the accounts, I'm all in. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to support you. I want my team to know and my company to know we're all in this together. We're going to go at this together. So to me, that was a powerful moment, because you got to have, and anytime you're dealt with adversity, what are you going to do? How are you going to react? How are you going to change? So it was everything from, helping all our accounts who never had, Instagram accounts or didn't have social media, promote it, getting all our celebrities to promote those accounts, helping create assets to do curbside pickup and delivery, doing Zoom calls with all our, Zoom didn't exist. You know what I mean? So I had calls with distributors, hundreds and hundreds of people on, to accounts, hundreds of people on. I want them to know we're here to support them. What do they need from us? How can we help? But I think that whole thing in a nutshell is what you got to do every day, figure it out. What am I going to do? How am I going to get my team and everybody on board that we're all moving in a direction?
I think that's crucial. And I know you mentioned that you said the word pivot a couple of times, and I'm glad you did, because I feel like a lot of times as young entrepreneurs or just people in life, right, going through their careers, whether it's through parenting, through their job, and they have a hard time understanding when to pivot and when to persevere. And I feel like you've kind of got that under wraps, when it's like, okay, if you hit a wall, right, and if something happens, it's like, okay, well, let me reassess. Let me see, did I get further than I got, 2 steps back prior, or did I not? And I feel like a lot of times people don't understand how to pivot or how to persevere.
No, and I think the harder part is, and I tell this to my team all the time, you can justify anything. You can justify any spend, any marketing, any event, any promotion, anything. You can justify having me on. But at the end of the day, the key is not to justify. The key is to be critical, because would you do that again? Is there a better way to do it? Could I have done it differently? Should I not do it again? Like, that's the stuff that I try to promote, because it's not about justifying. It's about being critical and saying, you know what, should I have pivoted? Should I have pivoted? But I think that's a lesson I try to think about every single day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope a lot of people, take that in consideration. Someone like Brett Berish understands the game and he knows when to pivot, when to persevere. So on top of that, since we're going down this path, how did you learn how to block out the noise? Because whether it's from people telling you, no, don't do this, or you saying, man, IRS after me, how did you just, lock in and be like, all right, this is it?
I believe in myself. I think I can. I think your will is the strongest thing in the world. It's half the battle. You can will yourself. You can will other people to get on your team. You got to believe in it, and I believe in this. So to me, it's some people. I've heard people say I'm very passionate about what I'm doing. To me, it's just normal. I love what I'm doing. I'm in it. I want this feeling. But I think more importantly, to answer it differently, I make mistakes every single day. So it's not that I'm making the right decisions. I'm just learning constantly from what I'm doing, that there's a better way. There's another way. There's a different way. Let's constantly keep trying to improve on it. I tell a story. I was watching a TV show and it was a comedian on, and it made me realize business and improv to me are a beautiful. Business can learn from improv. When a comedian's on the stage, DeAndre, and he tells a joke one night, he sees how the audience reacts to it, and then he manipulates that joke a little bit the next night. And the audience reacts a little bit more, and then he manipulates it again the next night. And he's constantly trying to improve on it. And that to me is business. There's not one way. There's a way to, maybe you can make it a little bit better, or maybe you should make it a little bit different. Or you know what, maybe the joke wasn't funny, just kill it. That's hard too. Just kill it. But to me, business is like improv. And I think there's a lot to say in that.
That's very interesting. You're right. Because when I do, watch comedians and they're going through their trials and tribulations, they're trying to find and land the best joke. They don't know it's going to be the best joke until they say it. Right. And whether or not the crowd tells them, oh, that was funny. Otherwise, they're just like, well, I guess on to the next thing. And I feel like a lot of people have a hard time trying to get over that hurdle, because I feel like a lot of people want to impress, upon people and make that great first impression. Don't get me wrong. It's a solid, factor to consider, but also being rooted in yourself, knowing who you are. And if something doesn't work out, don't beat yourself up, but also pick yourself up and say, you know what, I'm gonna try again, next time I got it.
And that's what we're doing every day. But the big picture answer is I believe in my brands. I know they're better than everyone else's in the categories they compete in. So I need to get that out. I need to share that with everybody. So if the product wasn't good, I couldn't do this. I couldn't do it.
Right. So what do you want to be remembered for? When it's all said and done, right? When Brett is like, all right, I'm done making the Luc Belaire's, the Bumbus, like what do you want to have happen?
I think it's a good question. I think two things. I want these brands to live forever. I want them to be iconic. I want them to be around for 100 years. I want that. I think the second is a more personal one, which is I want to see my ideas work. To me, it tells the younger version of me that you can do it. Meaning if you have an idea, I wish we had this when I was 19 years old. I wish I would be listening to other people and their stories and giving me confidence. So to me, it tells me that 16-year-old kid who thought he should do 100% agave tequila back in high school, which was 30 years before everybody else. And I wish my dad would have said, Brett, that's a great idea. Let's go do it. But that didn't happen. So I just, for every time one of these ideas, I want to see them work because it tells me, it gives me hope that other people can do it too.
Boom. Just like that, man. I feel like you killed the podcast, Brett. I don't know what else to ask you, man.
Anything goes.
Right. No, I love it. And so with that, because you've been in business for a while, you work with so many different celebrities and influencers and so on and so forth. Like, what's been the biggest gem that you've actually obtained from those you collaborate with? Like, what's one thing that's like, that was it?
I have this series that I do called Self-Made, where I interview celebrities, business people, musicians. The one thing, and I always take bits and pieces. I learn from them. I learn. The one area that I always thought was interesting is in the music space. If you asked any artist their biggest commercial success song, did they think it was going to be? 100% of the time, it's no. They never expected it. They never knew it was the one they hated the most. And to me, it always reinforces this idea, you got to try things because you don't know. And if you overthink it, it's too much. So to me, this is the nuggets I get. Like you can cut through there. And I'm telling my team all the time, try things. If you fail, don't worry about it. Just try it though, because it may work. So that to me, everything we've ever tried, Belaire Blue is an example. I think you got a bottle. I see the case.
They got the case, but no bottle. I got everything else but the blue.
That sucks. But Belaire Blue, people thought we were nuts. You can't come out with this. This doesn't exist. This is completely different. It's off the realm. I think we created this 6 years ago. I finally said, let's do it. This past year, I stopped listening to everybody. It's the single hottest brand in the country, wine or spirit.
Yeah.
Put it out there. You got to try. You never know what's going to happen. So that's my, the success based on just, don't listen, let the consumer decide.
Right. That's the best way to go about it. Let the results speak. The results going to tell you everything.
Correct.
I definitely can stand by that. Absolutely. And so, my mind goes in various places when I'm sitting down with people like yourself, and I'm so curious to know, like, what are you most thankful for?
Oh, what am I most thankful for? It sounds corny. It's my mother. You got to have at least one person in your corner who's supporting you, who believes in you, who when bad shit happens is there for you, never says stop, just says keep going, keep trying. So for me, it's her, this person in your corner who just believes, and I needed that. So I'm thankful to have someone like that. And it just happens to be her. So you need that. You need someone just, it's like being a boxer. You've got the guy, you got your trainer in the corner who's just telling you got to get back out there. This is what you do. That's what I had.
I love that, Brett. I love that. And I know, shout out to Mom first off, for everything. And
she's 92 years old. She rollerblades every day. She wears our shirts, our hats, our sweatshirts. She has her own business cards. She will go up to anybody and everybody and talk to them about our brands. She's, Nipsey Hussle told me, Brett, you gotta, I learned early, I just gotta pop my trunk. And I said, what does that mean? He says, I just gotta go to the corner and pop my trunk and sell my goods.
Yeah.
You got to do that. And I learned that. Just get it done. She and I used to call liquor stores just to have them hear us ask, do you have Ace of Spades? Because I wanted them to hear the name. It would all day long, just call stores, call stores. You got to just pop your trunk and make it happen.
I love that. Hey, that's a fact, man. That's a big fact. But, given, so much success, everything you've accomplished so far, and I know you're not finished yet. I can see it in your eyes. I can hear it in your voice. Like, what's next for Brett Berish? Like, what are you looking to push outside of Luc Belaire? Do we got another addition coming to the family, or what we got going?
It goes back to the kid who has, if I run out of ideas, I'll stop, but I have other things I want to do. I've got 2 new brands I hope to come out this year in 2 new categories. I think we'll have maybe 2 more every year for the next few years. And I'm just as excited about, it feels like we just started. It literally feels like it's still day one. We're just on the runway right now. Right. But I'm excited for the new brands. I'm excited to see how they grow. It's hard. I tell our distributors in our trade, it's hard growing a new brand. It's not a legacy. But boy, if it works, it becomes a legacy, and that's what you want.
Boom. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I love that answer, Brett. I love that. And so I would love to know, because everyone else is probably like, can't wait for this answer. Like, where can they find you? Where can they support? Where can they buy all these bottles that we got?
You can, the bigger brands that have been around, hopefully you can find it everywhere, like a Belaire and Bumbu. The smaller ones are still young, McQueen and Villon. You can hit us directly, me, Brett Berish, CEO, on Instagram. Instagram, official Belaire, original Bumbu, McQueen in the Violet Fog, and Villon France.
Got it all.
Supporters want to be supporting, hit us. If you have ideas, hit us. If you love our brands, please tell me. I get motivated by that beyond belief. There's nothing better than having somebody say, I know your brand, I love your brand. It'll never get old.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. I'll put all the information down below in the description, but make sure you go follow and check them out. And Mr. Berish, I just want to say thank you so much. I don't want to hold you up. I know you got a lot of important things to do. And I just want to drink.
I'm going to drink.
Yeah. Come on. We got to finish. I got to finish this bottle.
Everybody level up. DeAndre, thank you so much for the time. Absolutely. Love it. Keep supporting. Let's go. Everybody starting a business. Let's do it.
Let's make it happen. To more success, more love, and prosperity to everybody. Salute.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And so until next time, ladies and gentlemen, much love, peace, and blessings.
Told her to level me up, yeah. It's time to level up. Now level up.